Hi guys, today we'll be reacting to Zack D films.
If you pulled out your eye and the nerve was long enough, visual signals would still travel through it and into your brain. This means you could move it around like a camera. And if you somehow made the optic nerve even longer, you could throw your eye around corners and see into other rooms. But since the nerve is extremely fragile, this would probably damage it, leaving you permanently blind in that eye.
First thing that comes to my mind is Ohio. It only comes from there and it is from there.
If you drop your phone in the toilet, pull it out and quickly turn it off. Then take out the SIM card and the battery if you can. Now some people think you should put it in rice to suck out the moisture, but this works too slowly and won't get all of the water out. Instead, find some silica gel packets from an old shoebox. Next, put the phone and the packets in a sealed bag. The silica absorbs moisture quickly and will pull water from deep inside the phone. And after 48 hours, your phone should work again.
I think that Steak would just throw his phone in the water for fun, then just try and see guys, chat, let's search up what Zack D Films has to say. He's the mega mind of the universe.
Birthday party.
The bird was forced to eat and stuffed until it doubled in size. Next, it would be dunked in brandy until it drowned, and the alcohol marinated its meat. The feathers would then be plucked, and the bird would be seasoned before being cooked in its own fat. And before eating it, you would put a cloth over your head. This is to hide the shameful act from the eyes of God. You would eat the bird feet first, crunching through the bones and internal organs until all that was left was the beak.
Why are we zooming?
Before eating it,
First I say, why are we zooming in on her mouth? Is that a key that we need to know? Like what the food looks like when you chew it? No, we don't. You don't want to see that. And who would want to eat a bird? Well, it's just, I don't know if I would. I just don't want to eat intestines. And why are they beating it till it dies?
if you shot a super powerful gun, could the bullet go completely around the Earth? Well, to make a full loop, the bullet would need to travel at over
Bullets normally travel at 200 miles an hour.
17,000 miles per hour. That's the same speed satellites use to...
If there's an ant on that bullet, it might just say hi to this. If there's a human riding a giant bullet that goes 17,000 not dollars, miles per hour, it'll see one that satellite and say, "Oh yeah, hi satellite," and then the ISS will pass the ISS and be like, "Oh yeah, hi," and then they'll say, and then the people on the ISS will say, NASA, we have a human riding a giant bullet, and he's just waving at us. NASA will say, did you let him in? No.
stay in orbit, but the fastest bullets only travel around 3,000 miles per hour. And even if you managed to find a gun that could shoot the bullet that fast, it would burn up from the air resistance, meaning you would have to shoot it from space at just the right speed, essentially sending it into orbit. If you shot a super powerful gun, could the bullet go completely... They surgically removed 90% of her tongue because it had cancer. Next, they cut a muscle out of her arm. They connected the veins inside her mouth and stitched the nerves together. The muscle was stitched onto what was left of her tongue, matching its shape. And even though doctors said she would never speak again, she said hello to her daughter just days later.
Why she look like that? Why she look like that? I can't tell if she's surprised or scared.
A person is tied down in front of you on the tracks, and if you pull this lever, the train will hit them. Now, you don't have to pull the lever. Instead, you can pass the decision to someone else. But if you do, the number of people tied down doubles to 2. The next person has the same decision, except there are 2 people on the tracks, so if they pass it on to someone else, it doubles to 4. Now, if just 10 people choose to pass, there would be over 1,000 people tied to the tracks. And after 32 passes, the number grows to over 8.5 billion, more than every person on Earth, and probably including you. So do you pull the—
How did they get them? Did they just have a spawn point on the tracks? Like, is there a portal where you just just randomly get tied up and then you just spawn on train tracks? I would pass the lever because I would never kill anybody. Never.
Beyond big.
The microphone was hidden inside a special gift to the US ambassador, and he proudly displayed it in his study. Now, the mic had no wires or batteries. It worked when sound waves from the room would vibrate a small piece of metal inside. Then, spies would aim their own radio signal at the bug, allowing it to transmit the vibrations. And they would listen to every conversation, but eventually a British radio operator accidentally tuned in to the radio signal and overheard the conversations. The microphone was hidden inside a special gift to the US ambassador, and he proudly displayed it in his study. Now, the mic had no wires or batteries. It worked when sound waves from the room would vibrate a small piece of metal inside. Then, spies would aim their own radio signal at the bug, allowing it to transmit the vibrations. And they would listen to every conversation, but eventually a British radio operator accidentally tuned in to the radio signal and overheard the conversations. He warned the ambassador, who finally found the bug. The microphone was hidden inside an airplane dropped a frozen chunk of sewage over a park.
How is that even possible? Like, are they in Antarctica? Are they just flying over Antarctica? How does it get frozen? And why do they have sewage on airplanes?
According to the legend, it allegedly fell toward a man balancing on a seesaw for fun. The block hit the other end of the seesaw with perfect force, launching him straight into the air.
Next generation Spider-Man.
He flew high before landing chest first on the crossbar of a swing set. The impact broke his ribs, which punctured his heart and lungs, causing massive internal bleeding. Within seconds, he died from the injury, collapsing lifelessly on the swing set, according to the story. An airplane— He climbed over the zoo fence so he didn't have to pay for a ticket, but he didn't realize he was entering the tiger enclosure. The tigers watched as he fell from the fence. Then one attacked. People screamed as they watched, and zoo staff tried to help. They used fireworks and water hoses to scare the tigers, but they only stopped when a police officer shot one of them. By the time they reached the man, he had been in the enclosure for nearly an hour. He was taken to a hospital, but the injuries were too severe. He climbed—
I would attack all 3 of those tigers. Why didn't he just climb back out?
He pulled out grease and rotting food, which cleared out the pipe. But the restaurant refused to pay, saying it was too expensive. So the next morning, he came back with a balloon. He stuffed it in the grease trap and inflated it, blocking off the pipe. And this would flood the kitchen with dirty water. He told them he wouldn't remove it unless they paid him within the hour. Left with no choice, the owners handed over the money, and the plumber
I would do that too.
removed the balloon. Each step forms a perfect square, turning at each corner like a normal staircase. But even though each step seems to rise, it never gets higher or lower. As your eyes follow the path, it feels like an endless climb that never actually gets anywhere. And this happens because your brain looks at the lines on the page and automatically views them as a 3D staircase. But if it were actually 3D, and you viewed it from the side, you would see there's a gap between the stairs, meaning this illusion only works in 2D. Each step forms a perfect square. He fired straight at
Yeah? Bye, guys.